of 6-year-old John Benet Ramsey in 1996, 16 years ago, sparked a media frenzy that put her parents, Patsy and John Ramsey, under the microscope. From the very start, they were the prime suspects in her murder, and they were still insisting that they were innocent when I interviewed them in March of 2000. Take a look. Mr. and Mrs. Ramsey, did either of you have anything to do with the death of your daughter?
No.
No. Mr. Ramsey, did you kill John Benet?
No, I did not.
Mrs. Ramsey, did you kill your daughter?
No, I did not kill my daughter.
It was such a tragedy all around, and sadly John Ramsey suffered yet another tragedy in 2006 when he lost his wife, Patsy, to cancer. He has been completely exonerated in John Benet's murder, and he received an apology from the authorities. But good heavens, what he's gone through. And now he shares his thoughts in this inspiring, and also it's like a great mystery story, except it's true. It's called The Other Side of Suffering. Please welcome to The View, John Ramsey. John, you and I have done many interviews together.
Yes.
And I always felt that you and Patsy were innocent.
Yeah, I know you
but
said that. Thank you.
It took 12 years for you to be cleared, and you even got an apology finally from the authorities. But right from the start, your daughter was strangled. You discovered her Christmas Day, and from the beginning, even though there was no DNA and evidence, you two, for years and years, were considered the chief suspects. Why?
Well, and I think police always look at the caregiver first in the death of a child.
Yes.
And that, even though it shocked us to think that that was possible, that we'd be considered, we accepted that, but assumed that they would then quickly move on, which of course they did not.
For years and years.
For years, yeah.
And they never have found the person who did it.
No.
Why didn't they move on?
I think they placed their bet early, the first day, and were unwilling to change the bet and didn't want to be proven wrong. And I had a very seasoned chief of police tell me that there's nothing more dangerous in this country than a police department that makes up its mind.
Yeah. They didn't want to, because they couldn't find the suspect, maybe they didn't want to.
Well, and I think people want a solution to that. It was a horrible crime, and a child was murdered, and people just want an answer.
It wasn't just you and Patsy. Your son Burke, who was 9 at the time, was at home that night when John Benet was found strangled. And he answered investigators' questions again and again and again. But I hear, even as recently, I'm looking at October 2010, investigators were still speaking to him. Do they still think that he may have been involved? Because he was also a suspect, that little boy.
Well, ironically, yes. Unbelievably, yes. But the 2010 incident was a little bizarre in that the police came to his dorm room during finals week, his senior year, knocked on his door, gave him a card and said, if you ever want to talk to us, here's our card, and they left. And of course it was representatives, they reinterrogated him and so forth. That was not true. But
well, it sounds like they were still suspicious, though.
I don't think so. Not of Burke. Apparently there was a task force a couple years before that recommended that they go talk to Burke again to see, now that he's older, did he remember anything?
People still suspicious of you?
Oh, I'm sure there's an element that is, sure. That's never going to go away.
So it took 12 years to become exonerated, yet in the public eye, as Barbara just alluded to, it took a long time for the public to maybe step away from blame, right? So going back, do you think that at being 6 years old, people would see John Benet Ramsey and say, okay, well, they put her in this situation. They would assert blame. Do you, looking back, think that there was a connection between her being in pageants to her murder?
Well, I wondered that. I don't think so,
Yeah.
But yet I don't think it was a good idea.
She was in the all dressed up like the little kids in the tiara.
Why was that a good idea?
Patsy and John Benet did it for fun. They just had fun with it. In fact, we used to joke that she needed to lose a few of these contests so she understood that you can lose in life sometimes. You don't always win. But it was just fun for them. It was a mother-daughter thing. And Patsy, you say, what else could a child... She wanted to give her children outlets to try to see what they're good at.
When you see something like we talk about this all the time on the show, John, toddlers and tiaras, when you see a show like that, what are your initial thoughts and message to parents?
Kind of shocking to me, frankly. I think When Patsy and John Bonet were doing this 15 years ago, it wasn't as, I don't know, as intense.
But people criticized you. It was one of the reasons that they were angry, the public, with you. Look what you did with your little girl.
Well,
Do you think you called attention to her?
well, that's the risk. I don't think that was the cause of her murder, but yet that was a potential risk. And I tell people, look, if you're in a shopping mall and there's more than 100 people there, there's probably someone there that's looking at your child in a way they shouldn't.
Do you
Just
think you
be
may?
aware of that.
You think you may have placed your family in these kind of circumstances that may have called attention to them, that may have related to?
Yeah, I think
her death?
so, and that I regret that, but I think that's very possible. Because that's the question you ask: why were we targeted? Why were we singled out?
Did you ever find an answer to that question? Why us?
No, not yet.
We also do not know who you think did it and who the police think. Don't tell us yet. We've got more time and we want to give you more time. So John Ramsey is going to stay with us. We'll be right back.
Next, Barbara has more of her exclusive interview with the late Patsy Ramsey about the murder of daughter John Bonet.